Okay, well, while we have this piece of news showing up that Russian prisoners of war are being shot, media's hoping that you'll forget that among talks about an irrelevant slap at an irrelevant award show. We're going to be covering this on the live stream tonight. So if you would like to take a look into that, it will be graphic footage, but I'll give you fair warning when we do that. But anyways, as this is happening, and while this news story is kind of blowing up, a lot of people have seen this online, even on mainstream circles. They don't seem to be covering it too much over at places like GlobalNews, which is Canadians' lamestream media, and many other places. Although I have seen some articles talk about it, like on CNN. There's very little gotten into it, except saying, don't believe the psychological warfare that's going on, and things like that. But this is what Global News has to say. This is the more important thing. Russia suspected of poisoning Ukrainian peace negotiators. Let's listen in on this. Yes, Kitty?
Valentina clambers into what's left of her apartment.
Wait, I thought you were talking about poisoning Ukrainian peace negotiators. Here we are with a destroyed building. We're all just supposed to take the word for it on something that's completely irrelevant. And this is in Mariupol, as you know. And there has been a lot of destruction there, but we get no context, as you'll see now in a second.
20-year-old has lived in Mariupol since she was born. What do we do now, she says. I don't want to leave, but there's nowhere to live here.
Okay, my heart goes out for this person. I'm sure that they are dealing with a lot of death and destruction, but we get zero context, even though we have tons of footage showing Azov and all the other people in the Ukrainian forces using residential buildings as defensive holdouts. That's what they were built for. They were built defensively, and they took full advantage of that. And all we see is the rubble afterwards, given zero context by some D-bag that is from Global National, hanging out in Lviv in western Ukraine, getting their orders from Kiev officials. But I digress.
It's thought 160,000 people are trapped in the besieged and destroyed city. But on Monday, Ukraine did not open proposed humanitarian corridors, blaming Russia for what it called provocations.
Right, Ukraine. Yeah, that's your source. That's all you're getting. It's just, what Kiev says goes. Right, and blaming for humanitarian corridors. Have you mentioned anything, Global News, about how they have been shooting people that try and leave the area? How Azov is using them as human shields and other battalions as well, so that they can continue to use them as human shields, and if they try and do anything against that, they get shot. Do you mention anything about that? No, you don't. You don't at all.
Long escape routes. But just as peace talks are set to resume in Turkey, news reports that two Ukrainian negotiators, one of them an MP, and Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich suffered symptoms of a suspected poisoning.
Roman Abramovich, the guy who owned, what was it, Chelsea? I think. I'm pretty sure that's him, right? And he took away his soccer team. He was one of the oligarchs that you feel like you could just steal all his stuff. But it was Russia that poisoned him, right? Oh, okay. All right, that makes sense. All right.
After talks earlier in March, the men reportedly complained of eye and skin irritation.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, Karen from Atlantic Council. And yeah, eye and skin irritation. So you should be able to tell us what that poison is, right? Or is it like another case of, say, a Ukraine peace negotiator shot dead defending the nation amid claims he was a double agent working for Russia? So this guy was killed there. This was the 6th of March, this was reported on, or 5th of March. And this guy was killed. And they accused him of being a spy. Ukraine accused them of being a spy. And then after he was killed, they said he was defending the nation to cover it up. Right? The government hailed him a hero hours after MPs had earlier claimed he had committed treason and was executed by the Ukrainian intelligence agency. But he was a hero, right? He was a hero. And he was defending the nation. Okay, so how do we know that's not what's happening here? Because your source is what? Kiev, right? Right? You coward fake journalists that are hanging out in Lviv and doing absolutely no investigative journalism, no questioning the events. You're just getting what you hear from some official in Ukraine, some thug in Ukraine, right? And we're all just supposed to take your word for it. Is it? This is how this works? Okay, awesome.
Men reportedly complained of eye and skin irritation.
I'm not surprised, unfortunately, and I think that Russia has no regard for human life, and it will continue to use tactics like this to scare people.
Yeah, keep reading your script there, Karen, from Atlantic Council. For those that don't know about that, you really need to start looking into these guys. This is the policy that shapes the world, essentially. And, we're just supposed to say, nothing could be past Putin. The Putin just does all the evils of the world.
Journal reports Russian hardliners are suspected to be to blame. In the past 2 decades, Russian opposition figures and defectors have been poisoned. Most recently, the now jailed Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny in 2020. The Kremlin always denied involvement.
That's something to look into as well, I would assume. I'm not saying that Russia is innocent or anything like that, but once again, who are we taking the word for here? You know, we can just scream Russian propaganda all we want. What about this Ukrainian propaganda? The one that called the other peace negotiator a hero after they killed him, right? We're just supposed to believe that this must be Russia. It must be Russia.
It all only adds to tensions ahead of talks in the wake of a significant offer from Vladimir Zelensky. The Ukrainian president saying he is willing to discuss the neutrality of Ukraine, subject to a referendum.
You mean the reason why you went to war? The reason why you were shelling Donbass that caused this invasion? And you were also talking about giving autonomy to Donbass. So all the reasons that you wouldn't step down from that ended up getting all of these Ukrainians killed, right? These things that were already agreed upon in the Minsk Accord, right? Oh, you're just suddenly now turning back on all of this now that you have thousands of your countrymen dead. So apparently the reasons why you were ready to go to war with Russia are of no consequence anymore. No big deal. No big deal. We can just turn all this back now. But he's so brave. Brave offer from Cokehead of Kiev.
This is a real...
And can he wear like another shirt for once in his life? Like, is he going to wear that same shirt until he dies?
The neutrality of Ukraine, subject to a referendum.
This is a real concession on the Ukrainians' part. But it won't be just neutrality. It will have to be accompanied by Western security guarantees, and this is a really sticky issue.
In other words, somehow be protected from invasion without being inside NATO. But before all that, the Russians would first need to leave Ukraine.
All you have to do is stop trying to join NATO. That's all you have to do. I mean, you've already mentioned, except, well, you're once again refusing to mention Donbass. But those were the things. Neutrality of Ukraine, stop shelling Donbass, which you were doing for 8 years, and that's it. And also the Cokehead of Kiev needs to stop talking about rearming with nuclear weapons, right? Those were the 3 things that really started this, okay? 3 things. And he's gone back on 2 of them now. They don't talk about Donbass in this one because they don't want you looking into Donbass. Right? But that is the case. And so you have no problem with neutrality now, but Russia needs to go. Russia needs to go. Oh, okay.
In Moscow, the Kremlin described US President Joe Biden's suggestion that Vladimir Putin be removed from power as alarming, a remark Biden was unapologetic for, saying it was him expressing his moral outrage.
Yeah, you're a liar. You're a liar. Biden has walked back those comments and saying, nobody believes that I was talking about regime change. You're saying he's unapologetic. I don't have anything set up here. But yeah, he's already said that what he exactly said was not what he meant. Right? But you're saying he's unapologetic. Right? Because he can't come off looking like a little bitch like you. Excuse my language. But these liars can't go 20 seconds without injecting their own BS.
Dallas?
Redmond Shannon in London, thanks.
Amazing. In London. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought he was in like Lviv or maybe even Poland would be at least close enough to not call him a complete coward. So he's not even taking his orders from Lviv. He's taking his orders from some dude in Kiev while he's sitting there in London, and he's just accepting everything he hears. Oh, and Joe Biden is totally unapologetic for the things that he completely took back after saying that we need a regime change in Russia. Okay. Tell me again how these guys aren't 100% propaganda. All right, guys, that's it for me today, at least for this video. We will have that live stream. That is 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll talk to you then. Thank you.